All right. All right. All right. All right. Well, laptop is still broken. The battery has officially exploded and died. So we're just on the phone. Got my iPad here. Good morning. We have no Jimmy and Tina to fire us up this morning, but this is the 7 a.m. standard for men. Thank you for being here. If you are tuning in on Facebook or watching the YouTube replay, thank you for being here. This is a show for men, just to help men navigate what it means to be a man in this world. Now, today's class, as some of the classes are very specific to men and some of the language is very specific to the masculine energy. But today's class, as with a lot of classes, is for men and women. It is it's such a powerful class. This is on transcending your current limits. So breaking through your upper limits, breaking through your glass ceiling, breaking through your self-imposed limits that hold you back from the life that you desire. Now, I've heard this term before, but all of this class, all of this research, and I've talked about this for years, so hopefully I can do it justice. But this all comes from a book called The Big Leap, plus my experience. So The Big Leap is a book by Gay Hendricks. If there's any book that you can never read on personal development, this is one of the greats, just like Psycho-Cybernetics with Maxwell Maltz about identity. But this book, The Big Leap, was just like a kick in the face to me. It was like an absolute kick in the face, because I'm sure that we've all got to a certain level in our health, in our careers, in our relationships, in our business, in our purpose, and then something happens and we self-sabotage ourselves and we tear it all down. We get to a certain earning potential limit and we don't ever go past that. We get to a certain level of love and connection. We get to a certain level of health or body fat percentage, and then we injure ourselves. Why does that happen? Why does when we work all year and then we finally get to go on holidays and we get the flu? Who's done that? So we've all done it, right? We've all had these upper limit challenges. And when I read this book, it was like my world just came crashing down, and it was like this, one of those movies where everything just happens in super speed and everything just goes in rewind, and you can see all of the moments where something in your life had happened, right? In the movies. So it was like with my life, it was like every moment where I self-sabotage or things had come crumbling down or things were going well, it just went, and it just was like, and my head literally exploded. And what I realized was all of these moments in my life where I'd hit my upper limit and something, quote unquote, something had happened for me to realize that I'd self-sabotaged it all away. Now, after my car accident, I was broken. I spent a couple of months in hospital, paralyzed, and then I got out of hospital. I went to North Queensland and I was homeless for 6 months. I was wandering the streets. I was eating Mars bars and fruit and nuts and stuff, just walking around Woolworths. Sometimes I was starving because I had no money. And I finally, after a few years, rebuilt my body, rebuilt my life. I had everything going for me. I had a great group of friends, just the lifestyle that I wanted, and I hit my upper limit problem. I hit the limit of what I thought I deserved, and I self-sabotaged it all away. I ended up finding myself down in Melbourne with a broken arm, nerve damage in my hand, broke again. And I was like, how the fuck did I get like this? And this cycle has repeated itself in my life, right? And for me, it's one thing. For you, it might be other areas, right? So this cycle or this loop just kept repeating in my life, and just the same circumstances kept playing out over and over again. And it was my subconscious internal limit of what I feel like that I deserve, right? And then the other pattern comes out, which is when my back's against the wall, the best comes out of me. And that's a scarcity driven pattern. That is not abundance. That's reactivity um, pattern based on extreme circumstances. So these patterns kept playing out in my life over and over again, to the point where I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why is this happening? Why am I doing the exact same pattern and I don't even realize it? And that's what these patterns, these subconscious patterns that we have, they're so sneaky that we have these blind spots. And if you haven't watched my shadow class, watch it. It was from yesterday. If it's in YouTube, I'll just link it. So our blind spots with these subconscious patterns just is sneaky, and it plays out with us without us even realizing it, right? So we all have these patterns. They all play out, whether you think they do, whether you think they don't. Your glass ceiling, as I said, will be different to mine. Your patterns will be different to mine, but we all have them in some areas of our lives. We have these patterns, right? These limitations that we place on ourselves, these limitations that we've put on ourselves based on our programming or based on our childhood. And I'll go into the different stages and how this happens a little bit later in the class. But there's a quote here that I want to read from Gay Hendricks. He said, each of us has an inner thermostat setting that determines how much love, success, creativity we will allow ourselves to enjoy. When we exceed our innermost thermostat setting, we will often do something to sabotage ourselves. And so the universe will either teach us with a feather, a tickle, or it will be like a sledgehammer, right? So when I look back on my life, and maybe this is something that you can reflect on in each area of your life, is when I look back on my life after reading this book, I can pinpoint the exact moments where I threw it all away, where I threw it back to what I believed that I deserved, and that then I could have a comeback story, right? Because that's just the pattern, the boom or bust cycle of here's my comeback story, right? The comeback kid, right? So that is just a complete destructive behavior, right? And this thing that we need to realize is, like, you have to realize that you are deserving of abundance, right? It's this subconscious thing inside us of what we feel like we deserve, right? You have to ask yourself, are you willing and ready to feel good inside, to have deep contentment and increase your deservedness of life just to gets to go well all of the time? Because for a lot of us, we put up with mediocre situations in our job, in our relationships, in our health, because subconsciously that's all we feel like we deserve. And unfortunately, in this country, we're taught not to strive for big things, to push too hard, to go for greatness, right? But there is greatness within you in every area of your life. And there'll be stories, patterns, behaviors, beliefs that are playing out in your life that are unconscious. You're telling yourself a story. Why can't I be like that person? Why can't I be like that? And then so your stories in your mind go, because you're blah, blah, blah. You're not this, you're not that, you don't deserve. And often it might be your parents, your society, your culture culture's programming fully influencing and impacting your thoughts and programs. Because, and we will argue to defend our limits. I will see people and they will tell me all of the reasons why they suck, all of the reasons why they can't do something, all of the reasons why they don't feel like that they could have that job or have that body or have that relationship. People argue to defend their limits, but they don't realize that their limits are programmed from some broken blueprint from childhood. It's been handed down by everyone else's limitations throughout their genetic and ancestral cycle. It's in their DNA, these limits. It's in their psyche, over and over and over programmed. So when we realize that this thermostat or this upper limit problem is the thing that's holding us back and that we can change it and we can rewire it and get all the things that we love, that there is no limits to our potential, that there's no limits to what we can achieve, that there's no limits to the body that we can have or the depth of love in our relationship and the connection that we can have. I don't know about you, but that's pretty freeing. Rather than all the bullshit, shit stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. Scott Trudeau's got this great quote, and he says, "Who are we but the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and believe?" And it's so true. We all have these stories, we all have these limits, these reasons, these just narratives that we entertain that are just crap. That's my rant. But we have to solve our upper limit problems because we can have extraordinary lives of abundance. We can have better relationships, lasting happiness, more love, more connection, more creativity. A big thing that I see with people is the lack of creativity. People say, "I'm not that creative." And when they were younger, they were incredible drawers or incredible musicians or all of these things, but they stopped because they believe that in some way they're not creative, or maybe they've got. I see a lot of people with creative injuries, and creativity is one of the most incredible forms of self expression that changes our lives. It gives us purpose. It doesn't have to be your job. It doesn't have to be your life's work. But our creativity, our expression, is definitely one of the doorways to abundance. So there's 4 zones, right? So there's the zone of incompetence, right? And this is like people are better than you at things, better than you at tasks, better in what you're doing, and then so you just avoid this at all costs. Then there's the zone of competence. You're okay at doing it. You can do it better. You can do it a little bit better, but you're not as good as anyone else, and you're not that interested. We don't typically stay here at this thing. So then there's the zone of excellence, right? This is where most people operate in their life, right? Like this is where most people operate at their job. They've got a good job. It's their zone of excellence. They get paid really well for it. You get acknowledged for it. People praise you. They tell you how good you are at it. You get significance from it. It sustains life for you. But there's a 4th zone that not a lot of people hit, but this is what they deserve to hit, right? And this is the zone of genius, right? And this zone of genius, this is your life's work, right? Like this is your true calling. This is what your heart sings when you do it. It's like it lights up your soul, it lights up your beingness, it gives you purpose. It's the thing that you lose time over. It's like you just all of your energy and consumption is when you're in it, time slows down, nothing else matters. You just let go of all of this human construction and you're just in it. right? You're in flow. Most people, they don't hit this zone of genius because of so many reasons, right? But if we ignore, right, this, because we're stuck in this zone of excellence, because the zone of excellence, even though we're good at it, keeps us safe and keeps us in the matrix, right? Keeps us in this little box. You do well, you're good at this, but there's part of us that dies inside if we don't step into our zone of genius, because Dr. Miles Monroe called it our authority, right? You are authorized by your creator to do something, to bring a certain gift to the world, and everyone has it. If you think that you don't have it, you're wrong. You are not that special. Well, you're special, but you're not that special to think that you don't have a zone of genius, that you don't have an authority or a gift or dominion that's been put in your heart to bring to this world. So if you're watching this and you're thinking in your mind, Daniel, you don't know me, I don't have any inherent gifts, blah, 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 I'm here to tell you that it's not true. The Creator put gifts and dominion and authority in everyone's heart to be expressed on this earth. There is something in your soul that needs to be expressed, and there's a reason why you're not expressing it, right? Because Gay Hendricks says that there's four main hidden barriers, right, that stop us from hitting our upper limit problem. That's what he calls it, your ULP, your upper limit problem. Let's have some coffee. Said he said people feel fundamentally flawed, right? So they feel like a flawed human being. They don't value themselves. They don't acknowledge their greatness. They're just broken by life. Um, the other one that he says is disloyalty and abandonment from our tribe. I've seen this, right? This is so powerful, way more powerful than people realize. It's like if I become successful, if I become, uh, if I break out of my tribe's programming, like if I'm in a family of an accountant and I go off and be an artist, I'm going against what's done. Like, or people grow up in their doctors, everyone's in professional careers, and then someone wants to get into something that's other than what the whole family's into, right? So they will self-sabotage themselves because they don't want to abandon what the tribe's done. Because this goes back to hundreds and, well, not hundreds of years, probably thousands of years when we were in tribes. You didn't want to go against what the tribe did because then you get ostracized and you can't survive on your own, right? So this is just inherent in our programming, in our DNA, that we don't want to go against the tribe. Like, this is way more powerful and destructive than what people realize, right? It's why people with generational obesity cannot break free and lose weight and become fit and healthy. It's very hard. I've seen it so much. I've seen it in disability unemployment, where that there's just this culture of victimhood, and like, you've got a disability so you can't do anything, you got to be inside the system. And it's very hard to break out, because when people start to lose weight, they start to look good, then their tribe just says, like, come on, just have a bit of cake, blah, 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 you've changed. And so this moment of inspiration that these people have to lose all this weight, do these things, or get a job, or do something, break the generational poverty cycle, they just get pulled straight back in to that family system, right? And it's not just, that's just an easy example, but it's just the same as growing up. A kid might just have these big dreams, and then everyone in the family's just like, slow down. Why don't you just have a safe career like an accountant, a lawyer, or whatever? So, and they just get pulled back to the voice of reason. The voice of reason is the thing that kills our dreams, our dominion, our authority. Now, the next one is the belief that success is a burden, right? It's like that. If I get successful, all of these stories come into my mind, right? Every story starts to play out as a narrative of what we believe success will mean. If I get successful, I'll be too busy. If I get successful, all the successful people that I know have got problems in their marriages. They don't see their kids. All of the successful people I know are tired, they're unhealthy, they're overworked, they're run down, right? So all of these stories and narratives start to play out in our lives that are just stories and narratives based on what we've seen. They don't have to be our stories. It's like when you're growing up, the stories about successful people or rich or money or things like that. It's like, well, don't turn out like Uncle Johnny because Uncle Johnny got money, and as soon as he got money, he turned into a wanker. It's like, no, Uncle Johnny was a wanker anyway. The money just made him even more of a wanker. So we have these things, these stories that we take on as reality of what we think life is like if we get successful. We think if we get successful, the same thing in Australia. Like if you get successful, don't stick your neck out, you'll get your head chopped off. So we limit ourselves, we hold ourselves back. So all of these stories are so programmed in us. They're so real that we think that success is a bigger burden, so we will sabotage it. And then the next one is the crime of outshining others. Now, this is a big one. I I've spoken about this so many times, but I wrote this blog about drama and the shining light syndrome. So this crime of outshining others is like if we start to shine too brightly, we attract drama to us. Now, this comes back to in our ancestral DNA. Like, you don't want to outshine people in your tribe because then there's a fear of getting ostracized. Well, he's too, and especially in Australia, he's too big for his boots. He's a wanker. Blah blah blah. Look at him. Blah blah blah. Look, he's like all flashy and stuff. So we shrink ourselves. We shrink ourselves back to what the baseline is of our tribe and the baseline is of our society. It is very hard to go against the system. It is very hard to go against the average in this country, in Australia especially. It is very hard to break free from mediocrity. And that's what average is. If you're fit and you've got a six pack and you're like, your shirt off, you're like, oh, you're a narcissist. That's what I get all the time. If you're too successful and too flashy, like, oh, look at him, he's a wanker, showing off his riches. If if you've got a good family and a good relationship, people are like, oh, it can't be that good. They're just putting on a show for whatever because everyone else's lives are broken and they're unhappy. Like, so it is, this crime of outshining is really big. So this shining light syndrome is like when we shine a light so brightly, it starts to shine a spotlight on other people's insecurities, which turns them against us. Not because we think that we're better than anyone, not because you think that you're doing more or you've got more gifts or this and that. It's just like, no, it's just like when people become great, other people have to face their fears and inadequacies. And then there's the other one, which is if your light starts to shine bright, you start to attract drama to you, right? It's like moths to a flame. It's like if you're just in the shadows, nobody cares, right? Like you can just get through life and be okay, and no one's going to harass you if you're just in that sort of middle. But if you start to have an opinion, if you start to put yourself out there, if you start to have a voice, if you start to succeed well in your job or in your business, in your relationship, in your community, people are going to notice you and drama's going to happen because they'll naturally want to tear you down. We've seen it throughout history. People in positions of influence and power, the system wants to tear them down because it can't handle their light. The darkness cannot handle the light. It wants to tear it down. And that is it sounds so negative, but it's the truth. I've seen it time and time again. We've all seen it. Martin Luther King, JFK, like these prominent figures just had these messages of light, and the darkness wants to tear them down. All right, it's very dramatic. um, so I want to just share with you. We've got 5 minutes left. Some of the self-sabotaging behaviours, right? Is that show up when you're about to expand. Let's have some coffee. Worrying, all right? If you start worrying about things, Gay Hendricks says that this is a sign that you're starting to expand. Criticizing and blaming, right? If you're in a relationship and things are going well and you start to criticize and blame because you're hitting your upper limit problem, it kills relationships, it blocks the flow. Now, my personal favorite is deflecting praise. This is it robs the person that that's giving you the praise of the gift of giving you the praise. And it also crushes and destroys your self-worth. Because what you're saying is that I'm not worthy of receiving praise. I'm not worthwhile of a human being to accept that praise and to feel it. It's like someone goes, "Oh, congratulations on finishing your uni degree," or "Congratulations on your job promotion," or "Congratulations on your health goals." And you go, "Oh, it was nothing." It's like, well, hang on. It was something. You spent 4 years of sacrifice at uni, busting your ass, learning, going through all the self-doubt, the frustration to get your degree, and it's nothing. What is that saying to your psyche? Your job that you've worked at for years and you've self-educated and done all of the right things so you could get this promotion, and then you say to yourself, "Oh, it was nothing." What does that say to your self-worth? Or someone compliments you on your health goals and you've just literally busted your ass for years to turn your body around, and you go, "Oh, it was nothing." That's telling your psyche and your subconscious that you are not worth the effort that you put into doing all of those things. And then also, as I said, it breaks the giving cycle for the person that gives you the compliment. So they don't get the oxytocin hit, the chemical release, because there's been no exchange of energy. A compliment, if I give you a compliment and it doesn't land, then it stops with me, right? I don't get the feeling. But if I give you a compliment and you receive it, it comes back to me as well. Like we both feel good. I feel good because I've complimented you. You feel good because you've been complimented. And it's this reciprocal cycle. Now, starting arguments when things go well. I think that we've all done this in relationships. I know I have. I don't want to single you out and think that maybe you haven't. But when we're going well, there's parts of us that just think that it's too good to be true. So we just start arguments because peace was foreign to us. Getting sick or hurt right before breakthroughs, right? Like this is a massive one. And I said this at the start of the class. I know so many people that, and maybe you've done this, but they work all year, they bust themselves, they get to about to have their holidays, they're just used to working, and then just before they go on holidays, they get the flu. Is that a coincidence? It is absolutely not. It's your nervous system fully letting go, and it doesn't know or believe it's worthy of having time off. It doesn't know or believe it's worthy of having a break and you just enjoying yourself. I've seen it so many times. You get to deserve to have a break. You get to have time off. You get to enjoy yourself and be happy. We're so conditioned that we need to punish ourselves with work and busyness and all of these things that we've forgotten that we deserve to live an abundant life, that we deserve to be happy, that we deserve to have all of these things, to bring our gifts to the world, to have love and abundance and relationships and this have it all lifestyle. But the system doesn't want that. The system, the matrix, wants you stuck, doesn't want you happy, wants you at low frequency, wants you self-sabotaging your all of the abundance that you can have in your life. So you get to rewrite this, and we're at time. It's at 7:30, but I'll leave you with this last thing. You get to rewrite this. So what I want you to do is write down all of your stories. Write down where have you self-sabotaged yourself. Where did you hit your limits? Like, where were those moments where you hit your upper limit, whether it's health, relationship, finances, job, whatever it was? Think about what self-sabotaging behaviors that you play out in different areas. Be really honest with yourself. I'll leave you with this, just the small quote from Marianne Williamson. It's a longer quote, but it's like, our deepest fear is that we are not inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Your playing small does not serve the world. You playing small to keep your tribe safe, to keep yourself safe, to keep the people around you safe is not serving the world. You have greatness within you. You have a message in your heart. You have abundance and prosperity. It's all there. There's unlimited potential in every human being. And the only thing that's between us and our potential is the stories that we have inherited from someone else's broken blueprint of how our life should be. So I'll leave you with that. Have a great day. This is the 7 a.m. standard for men, and I will see you tomorrow.